Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday to you all. I get to do the portion of sharing our stories today. I'm Amy Kilburn, for those of you who don't know me. As many of you know, I've been working on establishing the first educator union in Clovis Unified School District. We named ourselves the Association of Clovis Educators, ACE. So whenever you hear that, that's what I'm referencing. When I decided to jump into the work of changing deep-rooted inequalities within the culture of our district, I knew it would need my full attention. I even called the church and stepped away from some of the committees that I was working on. I was committing my time to the requirements of my teaching position, working on ACE, and not much more. It sounds very boring, I know. But it was what I needed to do. So fast forward to the start of the next school year, because we launched in the middle of a school year. I'd moved grades and was now teaching 9th grade English. So in addition to tackling the new journey of creating ACE, I thought it would be a good idea to switch things up and teach a new grade level in a new environment. What's wrong with new, right? I mean, we all want change, so we do it all the time, right? Think about your order at your favorite restaurant. I bet you order the same thing every time, don't you? We as people don't like change. Thank you, right? I knew that, right? I also had to answer concerns during that time from educators thinking this grade level change was retaliation for working on ACE. At the time, I didn't realize that teaching 9th grade was not considered a fun thing to do. Okay? 9th graders, yeah, they're rather interesting. This time, it wasn't. It was a choice. I made that choice. So I'm in my classroom during the last period of the day, feeling like I was at the end of my rope, feeling like I'd embraced the unraveling of jumping off the yellow brick road, when my door opened and I was greeted by the French teacher with 2 students standing next to her who looked terrified. She motioned for me to come to the door, which I did. Then she spoke in French, which I didn't understand, and then proceeded to introduce me to my new student, David, who didn't speak any English and who had just moved here from the Congo with his family. I'm watching their body language too. Eben, his brother, was with them, and they just looked horrified, terrified. You know, it's the end of the day too, and they're standing there. So this was my first question to the French teacher. How are you translating my last name? Kilburn. Okay? Think about that name being translated. As quickly as she came was as quickly as she left. David would be in my class the next day, and I would need to teach him English in my most ill-behaved classroom. When the day ended, I sat at my desk and just thought, I cannot do this. I can't do this. I'm not the teacher for this student. I even thought about contacting my administration and asking for the student to be placed with a veteran teacher in this grade level. I thought of the time I spent on ACE, the time I was spending learning a new grade level, hanging on to that last length of rope and embracing the unraveling. I just was like, I can't do this. How can I be of any help for this young person from the Congo? The words that came into my head were things from our church: embrace, courage, love, peace, breathe, embrace the unknown, build a bigger table. And still I thought, I don't have it in me. Sorry, I just don't have it in me. But here comes David the next day. He'd gotten lost on campus because it's a huge campus. So he was late to class. And I had a former student as a teacher aide in class who was a junior. And I just said, okay, here's what we're doing in class. Use Google Translate. Let's go. And so that's what they did. They'd sit at the back table together and they'd work through Google Translate and do the work. I soon learned a little about David. He loved soccer, he loved his family, and TikTok. He also had no idea about ACE, but he loved TikTok. He got connected with the soccer program on campus and was doing great academically, but wasn't connecting with any students and was having a hard time with the move. I mean, they moved during a pandemic, and most kids have had a hard time. And they've had a hard time coming back, right? He moved continents. So I invited him to come to Halloween with my family. Every kid needs friends, I thought. He and his brother came. Nobody spoke French. They knew nothing. They knew we had dogs. They were doing fine. We communicated with Google Translate. How do you communicate Halloween? That some it's fun and some are scary, right? And so we had a good time. They got candy, and he met the Kilburn kids. Something new I learned about David that night was that he loves chocolate. Fast forward to yesterday. We took David, his brother Eben, which I've pronounced his name wrong for 6 months. We've been saying Eben, but it's Eben, and all the Kilburn kids to Pismo Beach. We never once used Google Translate. We listened to French and English music, in the car, watched movies with subtitles, played on the beach, soccer and volleyball, watched two young men who've never seen an ocean get soaking wet from a wave, and we laughed. That day, sitting at my desk, I wanted to give up. But this morning, I received a text message from Eben. He sent it late last night, and I thought I'd share it tonight because what it reminds me of is that I think every single one in our congregation could get this message from somebody in their lives because we embrace the words and the messages that are shared here today, and we live those out throughout our week. So he said, this is after I dropped them off at like 10:15 at night, or 10 o'clock at night. So he says, "Good evening, miss. Just to thank you and your mom for this wonderful, unforgettable day we spent with the Kilburns. You could have spent a lot of money for me and David, just so that we could have a beautiful day with the Kilburns. Thank you. A lot. It was awesome, and my favorite moment. I had to study in my country the Pacific Ocean, but you gave me the chance to actually see it, touch it, taste it, and play in it. Even everything near there. We, the family, thank you very much for everything you have done for us since we arrived here. I don't know, without you, how we were going to get by in this new country with many of the difficulties we have. Thank you very much for always being there with the Kilburns to give us concern. Many of the whites are wary of the blacks, of us coming from other countries, but you have made the difference. You consider us as part of the Kilburns. You treat us like your own sons. It is with tears in my eyes that I write to you this message. Thank you, and thank you again. If my father could speak English better, he could have thanked you for all that you do for us. The Lord will reward you more. May God bless you, your mom, and the Kilburns." So, yes, right? Right? That day, sitting at my desk, I wanted to give up. I wanted to give up on myself and my student David. But the words from our sermons, our music, and our congregation kept me going. I didn't give up, and I let God into the space that was telling me to quit. I know this was supposed to be about ACE, and the work is going. We're doing it. We're doing good work. We've gotten a person who was just swapped mid-year without applying for a position resolution. We've gotten our first non-binary teacher advocacy and representation when they were promised to be supported and they weren't. We helped to establish an LGBTQ plus club on a site where an administration was resistant. We've had policy changes and normalized the word union in CUSD. But while that work has been done and influenced by the sermons and words from Julia, this little story of David shows to me how powerful our faith is in larger organizations like ACE and in our one-to-one interactions with those like David. I remember Julia saying the original definition of sin was rooted in allowing relationships to break down. Our church reminds us weekly how important relationships are and how impactful they can be on our lives. May you all have amazing relationships.